right on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. We're on weekdays, 11:45 Eastern. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. Hello everybody, I'm calling this piece Liberals in Denial and Running for the Exit. I wanted to do this piece because I wanted to respond to a particular request for stories about Canada. It's very difficult because there aren't that many. Well, here's the one that's in the public eye here at the moment. Now, I don't watch or listen to Canadian media, even though I live in Canada. Why? Well, it's quite simple really, that the federal Liberal Communist propaganda is all that's being reported. Now, the biggest scandal here is that the Attorney General has resigned, and she knows something about a deal that has been done with a company in the province of Quebec. I won't bother you with the details. Now, this is not new to Canadians, and the reason I'm not going to bother with the details is I'm going to play a short clip which will explain a lot, but it might confuse a lot as well. You be the judge of that. It's from CTV News, one of Canada's supposed independent TV channels. You be the judge on that. The company in question, which you'll hear mentioned, is accused of getting special treatment, shall we say, from this government. Now, to be honest with you, and it'll probably upset a few people, I really don't care about the ins and outs of what goes on because it just never stops. It's just non-stop corruption in Canada, unfortunately. It's a beautiful country full of very, very corrupt politicians. That aside, this always happens in Canada. 9 times out of 10 in Canada, if there's ever anything shady going on, A, it involves the province of Quebec, or what they like to call the country of Quebec, and B, it always involves Liberals. Here's the piece.
Some kind of Band-Aid seemed to slow the bad blood today that's been coursing through the Liberal Party. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tried to set a different tone on the SNC-Lavalin affair, and the former Justice Minister asked to set the record straight. Jody Wilson-Raybould stood up in the House and said she wants to speak her truth. Trudeau stood up in the foyer and publicly apologized. CTV senior political correspondent Glenn McGregor with the new open arm approach after a closed-door meeting.
Why did you want to speak to Cabinet yesterday?
More than 100 Liberal MPs gathered for their weekly caucus meeting, but all the attention was focused on just one.
I'm going to attend caucus as I always do, and we'll see how the conversations go.
Former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould says she still can't comment publicly on allegations she was pressured to negotiate a plea agreement with Quebec engineering company SNC-Lavalin.
I'm committed to ensuring that I know what I can and cannot say.
As MPs left caucus, they wouldn't reveal what she said in the closed-door meeting.
We don't talk about what happened in caucus.
But the adversarial tone between Wilson-Raybould and the Trudeau government has softened after she attended yesterday's cabinet meeting. The Prime Minister said he had apologized to his former Justice Minister for not coming to her defense.
I wasn't quick enough to condemn in unequivocal terms the comments and commentary and cartoons made about her last week. They were absolutely unacceptable, and I should have done it sooner.
But the opposition pressed the Prime Minister on a report that he met with Wilson-Raybould even after prosecutors had told SNC-Lavalin there would be no deal to allow the company to avoid criminal charges.
Why would the Prime Minister have so many meetings with the former Attorney General if it wasn't to try to reverse a decision that had already been made?
It is the work of this government to serve Canadians, to protect jobs, and to protect our institutions and the independence of our judiciary at the same time.
As MPs prepared to vote on an opposition motion to call a public inquiry, Wilson-Raybould told the House she would abstain, but said she still wants to talk.
I understand fully that Canadians want to know the truth and want transparency. Privilege and confidentiality are not mine to waive, and I hope that I have the opportunity to speak my truth.
Wilson-Raybould is expected to testify before the House Justice Committee, possibly as early as next week. But even then, it's unclear if she'll be bound by solicitor-client privilege or whether she'll be free, as she puts it, to speak her truth.
All right. Lisa. Glenn McGregor, thanks for this tonight from Ottawa.
Liberals in Canada, Liberals in the Canadian federal government have been caught out, unsurprisingly, yet again. They've been caught cooking the books again, either with favours or funds. It's always one or the other. I really don't understand why Canadians put up with this, with such a corrupt and corruptible system. I just don't get it. It's easily fixed, but they just can't be bothered. It works for the most part, so why rock the boat? But I could also ask the same to my American friends. How come Hillary Clinton isn't in jail? What about the California ballot harvesting, the gerrymandering of districts? It goes on everywhere. In Canada, the media also has such a left-wing bias that they prop up the art teacher who would be king, i.e. 57 genders Trudeau. We all know this, living in Canada, that they are as crooked as the Democrats in the United States. More so, in fact, it is in their DNA. Quite frankly, they can't help themselves, so we're supposed to overlook their shortcomings because they're cultured. Absolutely not. This crisis, which is quite frankly nothing new for them, is of course an ongoing scandal. I will elaborate. Well, there's two really. One is bilingualism, which you don't hear anything about, but you're going to hear about it pretty soon in your country, in the United States that is, when they start demanding Spanish in Congress. It's not far away, folks. The other is the province of Quebec itself. Let me elaborate. Quebec is the most heavily subsidized province in Canada, and all they do is ask for more. Like politics, when you break it down, it's easy. It's really only about a few things. Greed and envy. They want more, and they want more of what you have. And that really is Canada in a nutshell. People will argue it's much more complex than that, but when you break it down, it really is not. I'll probably get a lot of angry comments. I don't care. The Canadian political system is utterly, completely corrupt. You as an independent cannot run. It is so complex. You have to go through so many hoops that they eliminate the majority of independent people wanting or even being able to afford to run for political office. That's not democracy. That's a cartel. Many people in this country would like to be able to run for political office and change things, not in the socialist direction, but in the direction of fairness and competition. That's what fairness means. It means competition. There is no competition in Canada. None. Every walk of life is virtually a cartel. The telecommunications industry, the shipping industry, the media industry, any form of industry you can think of is a cartel. We pay more for our roads, we pay more for our air flights. Everything is more expensive because there is no competition. Competition breeds wealth. Competition is good. I come from a socialist country. I know what it's really about. I grew up in it, where it was grey, plain, and the unions had the power. They destroyed my country utterly. The unions are dangerous to any country. They had a place back in the 1800s. I come from the area where the union started. I know what unions are about. Unions corrupt politics and corrupt politicians. There's so much more we can say on things, but we're not allowed to because of the lack of free speech in Canada. But make no bones about this. Canadians are fed up with this system. They are being forced into this what I consider to be a new world order. They're being dragged kicking and screaming. Majority of Canadians don't want this stuff. They just want to live their lives and try and make it better than it was for the previous generation. Politicians just stand in their way. They take money from people and they squander it. There isn't a government department in any country that has made anybody's life better. They've made it worse. And that's my Canadian comment. You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. You can now find us on Spotify. Just go to the podcast section and type Canadian Politics with a Twist and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.